Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good day. We have lots to talk about. It has been a minute since I have been on YouTube. We do have our TikTok friends watching. For this particular one, there isn't really going to be any images or anything that you're going to miss. So if you want to stay on TikTok, you can. If you want to jump over to YouTube, you can. But what we're going to be talking about today is the thwarted terror attack at the Taylor Swift concerts in Vienna, Austria. This came down yesterday. We've had a lot more information come through since then. And so let's talk about that. But as you all know, we have to go through and do the things that pay the bills. So just real quick, if you are on TikTok, you're not going to see this. You're going to be like, what the hell is he talking about? But for those of y'all who are here, basically, I have written 2 children's books, well, 3. And this one is called Boundaries. You can pick these up in the TikTok shop or through the link in my bios, which is just on TikTok.com. If you are no contact, limited contact with a family, this book is designed to help you have that discussion with your kids in a way that doesn't vilify that person, teaching them boundaries, teaching them about conditional relationships to help have them recognize that. The next book is Surprises Are Okay, Secrets Are Not. That one's pretty self-explanatory. This book is designed to keep kids safe, teaches them that surprises have end dates, secrets don't, and adults should never be asking kids to keep a secret. Then finally, they can get in a bundle, but I guess I don't have the new one up here, so that's on me. I do have a new book that's coming out, but I don't have a date yet, but I will show that next time. I'm running through this pretty quick because I want to make sure that we get to this stuff because I'm excited, and not excited, but anxious to talk to you all about it. But the last thing I'll say, if you are here new on the TikToks or on the YouTube side, definitely hit that subscribe button. Subscribe is the same as follow. And for TikTok folks, yeah, do me a solid and hit that follow button too. Now, with that said, let's get into this because a lot has happened. Because we're coming off of, last week where there was an attack in Southport, UK at a Taylor Swift themed, not an official event, but a themed event where 3 little girls ended up losing their lives over, a stabbing. And I don't know if it was targeted because, it was a Taylor Swift theme or because you would have captive targets, for lack of a better word. But regardless, it's absolutely tragic. And then a week later, you have what happened in Austria. So basically, if you don't know already what happened in Austria, it came down that there was a credible threat, terroristic threat to the shows. There were 3 shows scheduled in Vienna, and all of them have since been canceled. And let's just kind of get into it. So police in Austria have questioned 3 teenagers who are suspected of plotting a self-unaliving, because social media, we got to say certain words, self-unaliving attack at the Taylor Swift shows in Vienna. This information about the suspects originated from U.S. intelligence and then was communicated to the Austrian authorities, meaning that these guys were not planning on coming out of this alive. All right. Now, both main suspects appeared to be inspired by the Islamic State, ISIS, and al-Qaeda. And investigators found bomb-making materials at one of their homes, and one suspect actually confessed, the main suspect, to planning to quote-unquote kill as many people as possible outside the concert venue. Now, this plan was also this attack was also planned for Thursday or Friday. Concert organizers expected about 65,000 people inside the stadium, and yesterday we were hearing numbers like 10 to 15,000 outside the stadium, but now they're saying about 30,000 people outside. And that is where authorities say the suspects planned to strike, was outside the venue. So it appears they did not have tickets, but they were going to utilize the fact that there was going to be a lot of people gathered to hear or see whatever they could outside for them to do this. Now, the main suspect is a 19-year-old Austrian with North Macedonian roots, and he's the one who confessed that he had started planning this attack last month. He had recently uploaded online an oath of allegiance to the current leader of the Islamic State group, again, ISIS, and he is being described as, quote, clearly radicalized in the direction of the Islamic State and thinks that it's right to kill infidels, end quote. Now, during a raid of the 19-year-old's home, investigators found chemical substances, liquids, and technical devices that could be used to manufacture explosives along with bomb-making materials. They also found evidence of concrete preparatory acts for an attack involving bladed weapons, meaning knives, as well as the construction of an explosive device. The suspect had allegedly made progress. Okay, this part's important. The suspect had allegedly made progress in building an explosive device in which he planned to strap to a car and drive through the crowd outside of the stadium. The second suspect is a 17-year-old Austrian who has Turkish and Croatian roots, who had just broken up with his girlfriend, and he was arrested by special police forces near the concert venue. Now, here's where this gets interesting. Again, it's planned, right? He had recently been employed by a facility company providing services at the venue during the concerts. Now, I have heard rumor that it was security. I don't know that to be true. I've not seen that. I've not read that myself, but I've seen a lot of people say it. So take that for what it's worth. But we know that it was a facility company, so it could have been, a multitude of different services that they offered. Now, this suspect, the 17-year-old, has so far refused to talk, but authorities found extensive material related to ISIS, the Islamic State group, and al-Qaeda at his home as well. Now, investigators also found videos and screenshots of home laboratories on both the suspect's phones, and those types of photos, specifically of those types of home laboratories, are often sent and associated with groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda. Now, the main suspect had also recently quit his job on July 25th, saying that he had quote-unquote big plans, and he had swore his allegiance to ISIS and had fully confessed to all these charges that are against him. Now, there's a third person involved. Now, if you remember yesterday when we were talking about this before we went to bed, and it was about 5 a.m. In Vienna and close to midnight, 11 o'clock my time, midnight, we knew that there were 2 people arrested and 3 people were still at large. Well, now they have a third person who has been detained and questioned. And prosecutors at this point will determine later, I guess, if this 15-year-old was a witness or if he was directly involved in this plot. But that's kind of all we have about him. They don't really believe that there were any other people at this point. Now, this is because a lot of people have been asking about nationality status. That's always one of these questions that kind of comes into play when you have events like this. All 3 of these people were Austrian born with either Turkish, North Macedonian, or Croatian backgrounds. Now, investigators do say, however, that they were in contact with other individuals who knew about this plan, but at no point, but at this point, no one else, I can talk, but at this point, no one else is being sought in direct connection with this plot. Now, both the older suspects, the 19-year-old and the 17-year-old, apparently had been under surveillance by Austrian authorities and were known risks before their arrests. So that's a bit interesting, especially given the fact that it seems to be U.S. intelligence that gave them the tip. Concert organizers have also announced that all tickets would be refunded and that the Austrian rail operator, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but OEBB, whoever it is, if you're in Austria or you're in that area, you might know this, said that it would also reimburse fans for unused train tickets to the concert. So that was pretty decent of them, I think. The Austrian chancellor defended this decision, and I'm putting this one in for a reason, this particular note. The Austrian chancellor defended the decision to cancel concerts, saying that it was justified due to the proximity of the arrest to the scheduled shows. Now, here's why I want to say this, and I don't know why I'm being petty about this, but I just am, because there are so much people that just know things that are not so, because, all right, so when I've done these videos, I'm like, Taylor Swift canceled the concert, or the concerts were canceled. Well, God, it was the government that canceled it. No, it wasn't. That's the thing. And what I've kind of been saying and defending this whole time is that the government probably came in with information, and it was a multiple person decision where they brought in the organizers of the concert, probably the heads of the venue, as well as Taylor Swift, if not Taylor Swift herself, but at least her team, to advise on the situation. And they came to a cohesive decision to cancel this. That's kind of how this stuff works. And so the Austrian chancellor saying that he's defending the decision to cancel it, not saying that they canceled it, but basically saying that the organizers canceled it, because that's what it said, was justified. And I know that that's getting really petty into the weeds, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who canceled it. What matters is that they found this plot, they foiled it, and to make sure that everybody was safe, that it was canceled. That's what's most important. So the people who are deciding to get down in the weeds, I'm just being petty on it. Now, let's get into something that a lot of y'all have had questions about, which is the upcoming UK shows. I would have to say that last night in the lives when we were talking about this, the UK show question came up at least once a minute. What's going to happen to the UK? What's going to happen to the UK? What's going to happen to the UK? And I'm not mad at y'all for that at all. It's a very valid concern. A lot of people have tickets to that, and it's a good question, especially in light of this event. Tensions are high. I get that. I absolutely get that. But as of now, Taylor Swift is expected to perform at London's Wembley Stadium in a total of 5 concerts between August 15th and August 20th, which is the end of that, I guess, at least that leg of the tour. Now, London's mayor also stated that while he understood Vienna's reason for canceling, London shows would proceed as normal. He assured that the capital's authorities were prepared, citing that they had learned lessons from the 2017 attack at the Ariana Grande concert, which was in Manchester, England, which sadly left 22 people dead and more than 100 people injured. British police have also said that they did not believe that the planned attack in Vienna would affect Taylor's upcoming London shows. I'm saying this because now we've had it from multiple sources. The mayor, I guess the team at this point that's kind of managing all of this, and now British police are saying that they do not believe that the planned attack in Vienna would affect the upcoming London shows, and that the UK concerts will go ahead as planned. There is currently no information that there are that any of the other concerts are subject to any type of explicit threats. Now, the other thing that I'll mention too in this is that the Macedonian ministers have received a request from Austria to look into the 19-year-old. So that's going to happen. So that's kind of the biggest updates on this show. Now, I will get into questions for both y'all. I'm going to start, just so you know, if you guys want to jump over it, because the chat moves a whole lot slower on YouTube. So if you want to jump over to YouTube, now is your chance to do so. I will see your question there, because I'm going to start there with questions for those of y'all who have those, then jump back over here to TikTok. But I also want to say while people are doing that, and same name on here, by the way, it's Justin on TikTok is my YouTube name as well. But I do want to say that if you were not here when I started this live, I'm going to have a guest on later tonight, probably around 9:30-ish Central Time, by the name of Dan Catullo. If you are one of my regular followers, one of the regular people in my lives, you probably know who Dan Catullo is. Dan Catullo is a Hollywood, Emmy Award-winning Hollywood director, writer, producer, who does primarily documentaries about the music industry. He travels with these musicians. He learns, knows all about what's been going on. He's been doing it for 20 some odd years, maybe more. So he's going to come on because he's got a lot to say about this whole situation, and he will definitely be a very interesting take when it comes to the venues. The other thing, as people are getting ready to jump over, that I will say is, I mentioned last night, if you were here, if not a big deal. I have a very good friend who works for a classic rock star. My closest friend, my best friend, works for Alice Cooper. And so I messaged him because a lot of people were asking last night about the security at these shows. I'm going to tell you what he said. I had messaged him about this. Let me scroll back up. But I had messaged him about this, basically saying that, hey, let me get to it real quick. Here's what I asked him. So when you guys play Europe, what kind of security do you have? Like metal detectors, what's there to keep threats away? Here's what his response was. It's all dependent on the venue, but we require a certain level that includes metal detectors. Taylor canceling those shows is absolutely wild, but you can't mess around. Then when he tours with the Hollywood Vampires, where Johnny Depp is, he said security is even tighter than that, but mostly for just those at backstage and at hotels. Audience side is not particularly much higher than any usual. So that being said, it appears that the teams, the artists can choose kind of what level of security that they want. I would imagine that when you're talking about somebody at the level of Taylor Swift, you're going to talk about, higher levels of security. So that being said, let me jump on to YouTube real quick and see what questions people have. Let's see. They're saying they're saying his buddy. I'm going to put this up here. They're saying his buddy was hired as security for the venue, and plan was to run cars into fans, kniving and explosion. So, Melanie, that's a great point. That's not really a question, but I know that the 17-year-old was hired by the venue, or not by the venue, by a facility company very shortly before. I don't know what capacity. I have seen people say security, but I have not personally confirmed that. And I know, Melanie, you've been here enough to know that I won't say something if I haven't confirmed it. But I do know that he was hired by the venue. But the plan to run cars into fans with an explosive device, with bladed weapons, that is confirmed. Yes. Carrie's asking about the mods. Carrie, that might have been an oversight, and my apologies for that. When there's a lot of people in that chat, it can get a little bit wild. So sorry about that. Sometimes they get quick on it when it goes so quickly. So my apologies for that. So Jessica asks, so they have everybody is still in custody, right? Or is there still a possibility of a threat? They believe that they have everybody in custody and that there is no longer a threat at this point in time. All right, so that seems to be the questions that we have so far on the YouTube side. So let me see what you guys have over here. What questions do y'all have here? Copycats. I think that's always a concern, Teresa, with these type of people. But that's a great question. So the question here is, will there be copycats? And I do think it's a great question, because when you have events like this, there can always be copycats that try to do it. The fortunate or unfortunate, depending how you want to look at thing about this, is you can't just arbitrarily say, okay, this didn't work, let me go try to do this in London. It takes a lot of planning and effort and trying to fly under the radar. It's not as simple as, a copycat incident that we have here in the States when you're talking about venues of this size with security, with foreign intelligence looking into it. You have to be as covert as possible. So trying to do an immediate turnaround would be near impossible, unless it was already had been planned for a while, which I don't see that based on what we've seen and heard. London's going to be a tough topic, or a tough, not topic, but tough venue to pull something like that off of, with everything that's going on with the increased security and the fact that since that 2017 Ariana Grande concert, they've really upped security and they learned their lessons from that. So I think that London's safe. And then after that ends the European tour and we're back to the States. So I don't think that if you have tickets to the London show, you should be fine. Ashley said they managed to plan this in a couple of weeks. That's terrifying. It was about a month. Yeah, he'd been planning it for about a month, but yes, it is terrifying. A month that they know of. It could have gone on a little bit longer, but yeah, a month. I mean, a month is enough time to pull that off, because the issue is you have to move. There's kind of a fine line to these things. I think that you have to move quickly to a point, depending on the event. Where something like 9/11, for example, took years of planning. I think they said they arrested 3 now. Yeah, so if my mods want to pin questions on TikTok, please feel free to do that. Again, if you want to make sure that your comment doesn't get scrolled by, jump over to YouTube, because that chat moves a lot slower. But for the 3 people, yes. So there are not 5 people anymore. There are 3 people. There's a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And by the way, on YouTube, this entire live is recorded, so you can go back and scroll and watch the whole thing. So that was it. What other questions do y'all have at this point? I want to make sure we answer them. Yep, a 15-year-old. All of them were sorry, I'm trying to read some of the stuff here. All of them were Austrian citizens. How did they figure out the plans? That's a great question. So it was apparently U.S. intelligence. So U.S. intelligence is some of the best in the world. We have eyes and ears everywhere, some in deep undercover, and they just are really good. So apparently U.S. intelligence picked it up. These people were already on the radar with Austria, which means they might have already been on the radar with Interpol and others. And that threat was then communicated, and they were able to act swiftly to investigate and make arrests and basically make sure everybody was safe. But I think that the decision was made. The attacks were going to be on either Thursday or Friday. Austria, North Macedonia, Croatia, but all living in Austria. So not exactly. They were all Austrian born. They were all Austrian born citizens. They were all Austrians, but they had roots to North Macedonia, Croatia. Oh my gosh. And one other. North Macedonia, Croatia. What was the other one that I said? I can't remember. but yeah. So they are Austrian citizens. They are not nationals. They are not, it's people want to, that one of the first questions are, were they there illegally? Were they refugees? That's one of the questions that happened a lot, but apparently, they weren't. And so we want to make sure that we look at that. But yeah, Macedonian, Croatian roots, and Turkish roots. That was the other one. Thank you, Sandy. Turkey. I did not mean to do, yes, the pun of acting swiftly, unintentional. Let's see. Sometimes I wouldn't blame her. She's upset, or she decided not to do London. I'm sure she's terrified. Yeah, but she's not the type of person to let terror stop her. So, because here's the thing about terrorists, they want to terrorize you. They want you to not do. They don't want you to live your life in peace. So security will be up. I highly doubt that she's going to cancel the tour. She doesn't want to disappoint hundreds of thousands of people. So I doubt that she's going to cancel it, especially if the idea of a threat or the risk of a threat is minimal. So Taylor had one of her stalkers. Here we go. So Taylor had one of her stalkers show up at the Germany show, and he was arrested. Been crazy. It has been a crazy few weeks. Yes, for sure. Is it true one of the guys were scheduled to work the concert? So scary. Sam, yes, that is true. So one of the guys was hired recently, the 17-year-old, by a facility company that provided service for the concert venues. And the attack was planned to be outside of the concert. So yes, that's a true statement. What other questions do you have? What do you think the risk level is for the Swifties gathering in Vienna? I think the risk is minimal. I do. I think the risk is minimal. Somebody I saw ask earlier, and I meant to answer this, I forgot, asking about, do you think that the U.S. shows will be affected because of Kamala Harris? I highly doubt that. The U.S. is a completely different animal than what you have over there. Not to say that a terrorist attack can't happen, because they do. I would honestly just say that you would be more at a risk in the U.S. of a person coming in with an AR and homemade explosive devices, like a U.S. citizen, than a sleeper cell, or some ISIS terroristic group. We've been pretty good at thwarting terrorist attacks here. So I think, again, but domestic terrorism is the thing, and I think that's what you would have more of a risk for in the States. When does she do back in the States? I'm guessing right after. I don't know the comment that was made about Kamala. That's just what the person said. So, that's the thing about it. Like, I get that this is scary. I truly get that this is scary. However, you have just as much of a risk in the U.S. I mean, truthfully, going to the grocery store or the movie theater or church or whatever. So somebody asked on YouTube, what time with Dan tonight? So again, if you're just coming in from on TikTok, my good friend, and soon to be podcasting partner, Dan Catullo, who's spent his entire life in Hollywood in the music industry. He's going to come on tonight and share some of his thoughts about this event. He's worked with some pretty high level rock stars and musicians, filming documentaries, going on tour with them, etc. So he's going to be able to come on and talk about that. So that's going to be about 9:30 p.m. Central Time, give or take a little bit. And that will be primarily on TikTok. But for my YouTube fam, we will definitely be uploading that to YouTube afterwards. What other questions do we have? So again, if you have a question and want to make sure that I 100% watch it, go ask it on YouTube. That chat is a lot slower. If you are here for the first time on either one of the platforms, please hit that follow button or that subscribe button. Do me a massive solid. Would appreciate it. Somebody made a comment/question. I'm going to call it a comment/question, where it says, wondering if the riots in the UK might play a part in the decision for future shows. I don't think that it will. Honestly, I know that the riots going on are a problem. A lot of people in the UK have said. Somebody asked a great question. I'm going to stop the chat so I can see it. Britt asked a great question. I'm going to come back to that in a second. I think that they're going to monitor the situation, but this was not the riots and the protests in the UK are primarily UK citizens that are having a bit of unrest after the Southport stabbing situation. I don't think that it's going to make any impact on the concert, and I think that they'll make sure to keep any threats away from the venue. So, do you see her make an official statement? I do. I don't think she has yet. She's probably trying to get, I would imagine, I'm not her, so this part is 100% speculation. I'm not Taylor Swift. I'm not trying to speak for Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a very intelligent woman. She knows that a statement is going to be very, what's the word I want to say with this? Going to be expected. And she's going to make sure that she has all the information she has. She, see kind of what she's doing. There's a very good possibility she's trying to see what else she can do, for knowing how she's been in the past, what she can do for concert goers or fans who weren't able to make this show now that they're canceled before, and seeing what she can do before she can make a statement. And there's a lot of moving pieces of that. Again, I don't know that that's the case, but I could see that being part of it. So that's a really good question. Somebody said, how long will jail time be for all three of them? I don't know. So first of all, 2 of them have been arrested. 1 of them has just been questioned. It's not been confirmed that the 3rd one's been arrested. He's just been detained for questioning. So I think that it's important to make that clarification. I do not have enough insight into Austrian law to be able to kind of answer the question of how long they would. But I mean, if they're a credible terroristic threat, then I mean, there's a good chance that they're going to go away for a long time. It's a good question. I just unfortunately don't know the answer. If we do have any friends from Europe, Germany, Austria, Switzerland who might know those rules, please do let us know. I want to comment on something that Courtney said. 1 second. Somebody asked about seeing the live. Yeah, I have seen the live of people in the seat streaming, but I want to address what Courtney said. So Courtney said the amount of people bullying Swifties for being devastated is ridiculous. And I would agree. So I would definitely not call myself a Swiftie. I think her music is good. I think it's catchy. I think she's a brilliant artist. I think she's a brilliant businesswoman. But for a lot of people, this is so much more than a concert. There are people, look, I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody when I say this, but if you're somebody who music doesn't make you feel something, then there's something wrong with you. Like, no matter who that music is, if there's music that doesn't make you feel something, and for a lot of people, Taylor Swift is that person, is that artist. Teresa just said teenage girls adore her. My 5-year-old adores her. Some of these people spent thousands upon thousands of dollars to make this a massive experience. Some people, the most adventurous thing that they've ever done in their entire life. And it's a bucket list show for them. It's so much more than just missing a concert. It's so much more than that. And for people to ridicule people over something like that, it's just absolutely sad. And now let's take that side of the equation out of it. And let's just look at it from this perspective. There was a credible terrorist threat involved that was thwarted yesterday. There was supposed to be a concert tonight. And it was either Thursday or Friday, they've determined, is one of the nights that were hit. It could have been tonight. In less than basically in a 24-hour period, 24 hours before this concert, they saved the lives of hundreds, if not thousands of people. And that is no small feat. And that is not something that should go unnoticed or be trivialized. Like, while these people, these fans who flew are devastated, and I get it and I understand why, I'm just happy that they're all safe. Because at the end of the day, that's what's the most important. So for anybody trivializing fans of Taylor Swift, or people who are, because I've had it on my comments too, like, oh, nobody cares about Taylor Swift. Like, first of all, if you're saying nobody cares about Taylor Swift, that's on Instagram, guys. So for any of my Swifties that want to go do your Swiftie thing to that guy, feel free. But like, look at this from the bigger picture. There are concerts that mean a lot. For me, recently, one of the more recent ones I hit up was, one of my bucket lists was Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was a hell of an experience. I had an amazing time to see bands that you love or an artist that you love live. It's so much more if you truly care, especially if it's one of your favorites. So my point is, I'm glad you brought that up, Courtney, because I don't think it's cool. And here's what I'll say to you guys. If you can handle the people, because do what is within your comfort zone and what you're able to do. But look, I get a little bit spicy and I get a little bit salty. And when I see people doing that stuff, I call them out. And these lives, if you were here last night, you see that I will pin their comments and I will call them out for the dumbassery that is the comments that they make. And if you feel like doing that, do that. Because let me tell you something. I've also discovered that a lot of Taylor Swift fans, y'all are pretty smart, and you can bring people down a peg or two. So, if your comfort level's there, man, go for it. Go for it. Let me jump over here back to YouTube for a second and see what questions. Somebody said, Concerns now from copycats. I did address this Mama Carol a few minutes ago, but I will address it again. Not a big deal. Concern is now copycats and following her from concert to concert. I think that that's harder to do. And I think that with her, obviously security has been upped with this kind of thing. When you're talking about threats like ISIS or al-Qaeda, you fortunately you're going to be a lot safer in the U.S. from those threats. I think that the bigger threat that she would have at a concert in the U.S., Mama Carol, would be a mass shooting event. That's what we tend to have issues with here. Mary asked, do they think that more were involved? They don't think that more were involved at this point, but they do believe that more people were communicated with, and that's where they've left it. Now, again, this is still a developing story, so we're not done with updates. There is going to be more. It is the 8th. In 7 days, Taylor is due to be in London performing the first of the London shows. So in the next 5 days, are going to be really critical and really pivotal to what's going on. So we will be watching that. We will see what happens. More information is going to come out as this plot unfolds. So, it's fluid and it's ever changing. So as we know more, I'll let you know. But as of right now, it's the 19-year-old, the 17-year-old, and the 15-year-old, and they've talked to other people. People knew about it, but they're indicating that they don't necessarily believe that other people were involved. I saw an interview with a young lady saying that she and her friends had planned their jobs and internships over the past year to be able to attend this show. The show aside, this does impact people. 100%. It impacts people. And again, there's a lot of money spent on flights and hotels and, the tickets themselves, which are going to be refunded. But yeah, to plan something like this, absolutely. It does impact people in a big way. And it's sad that you're talking about what was supposed to be probably roughly 200,000 people, rough numbers, between inside and outside, between the 3 nights of the shows, 200,000 people. And a group of 3 guys ruined it for everyone. It's shitty. It's just shitty. And Rebecca said, this isn't just any concert. It's a 3.5-hour show with songs from every single era. It has, how she does that for that long, beyond me. Somebody said they spent $3,000 here in the U.S. worth every dime. People making fun of them Amanda says, people making fun of them is the main big issue with our world right now. So many unnecessary hate. I would agree. And Mike, it's amazing the amount of adults bullying people. And then we wonder why we have such a big issue with it in the schools. That's a different live and a different chat, but that I agree with you, Amanda. Not only copycats, but as we get closer to elections, I worry about more violent attempts during the campaign trail. Yeah, I mean, Trump has already had one against him. There's a lot of hate towards the Democrats. There's a lot of hate towards the Republicans. There's a lot of volatility with all of this. So with the U.S. elections, absolutely, I could see there being some more issues, and that's why Secret Service is going to have to do their job for all the candidates involved. One bad apple, they say. So let me go back and check here. What do you think about the Swifties mass gathering in the streets of Vienna? Counterintuitive. I don't think that it's counterintuitive. No, I think that it's solidarity. I think that it shows the power that music can have, and that this particular artist, that Taylor Swift, has. I mean, that's just kind of what it is. Reggie says, I'm terrified for London. Think I'm going to sell my tickets. Reggie, I would sleep on that. I'm going to tell you, this is my personal opinion. Okay. I'm going to just tell you, if it were me in your situation, if I had bought tickets to the London show and was going to the London show, I would still go. That's just what I'm saying. I would still go. If it were me, personally speaking, I would not feel unsafe taking even my daughter to that show. So I don't know if that makes you feel better or not. Look, I got the election banner. I don't know if it makes you feel better or not, but I'm just telling you how I would be. Do I think there's going to be another show or something else for the Vienna Swifties someday? Someday, maybe, but probably not for the Eras Tour. Yeah, the royal family is going to be in Wembley too, possibly the Prime Minister. I think that you're going to be safe. What were they going to do? So, by the way, for anybody who is just coming in as well, this is being recorded on YouTube. You can go and watch it, start it over, and hear the whole thing so you can get more details. But basically what happened was a thwarted terrorist attack in Austria caused Taylor Swift all 3 of her shows to be canceled. So, do I think they're targeting her or just the crowd? The crowd. I think her being her is probably a bonus, but the crowd. No, there's very few events that will draw in a crowd like her. Let me see real quick. This is her second stint in London. Bingo says, I have tickets in November. I'd rather cancel than have my daughters in danger. I agree with that sentiment. I don't know where you're at, Bingo, but I do feel like things will be safe. And somebody said, if you don't go, they win. You have to do what's outside your comfortable go, but outside of your comfort zone, stay within that. Obviously, do what you feel is best for you and your family. But as Denise just said, if you don't go, they win. And I'm a big proponent of that. Terrorist groups, they want you to live in fear. They want you to constantly be afraid of them. And it's up to you to determine the level of risk that's there. I think you honestly in Indiana, I think you'll be fine. I think you would be fine in Indiana. I mean, if you were telling me like, Madison Square Garden or Los Angeles or, Chicago or a major, not that Indianapolis isn't major, but I'm talking about a major city, maybe. So I think you'd be fine in Indy. But even then, I would still think you'd be fine in LA or New York. What were they going to do to hurt the crowd? It was going to be the crowd and explosive devices and bladed weapons. I think Canada's always, you guys are always safe in Canada. Nobody messes with Canada. I don't think, here's the thing. For a lot of people who are worried about other cancellations, here's what I'm going to tell you. There are no indications of any other concerts being canceled. Somebody's asking about Travis. I've not read about the Travis threat, so I can't speak on that yet. For people asking if there were new updates, yes, I'm not going to go through and read the whole show again, but I am recording this on YouTube. If you do want to jump over there, you can rewind it and you get all the updates, brand new updates. So you can see also, because there were more updates that came out, they are going to continue to unfold. Vienna was apparently already a target, and the show was a bonus. So my son had tickets for the last indie show. Okay, hold on. One of my Hoosier followers said downtown Indy's nothing short of a cluster. It's going to take hours to get out. Well, that's true. Downtown Indy is a little rough when it comes to like traffic flow. I see a bunch of Swedish London tickets selling to people who are missing out in Austria. Well, that's really thoughtful of them, I think. Let's see this. I watched a lot of live streams, and yesterday I kept thinking about thousands of people who could also have watched this unfold online. Yeah, let's talk about that, Rebecca. You bring up a good point. So think about this. Had they not caught about, let's think about what could have been. Okay? Let's think about what could have been. What could have been is that this concert went on as planned. The threat wasn't detected early enough, and a catastrophic event occurred. And we would have been live streaming it. We would have all seen that live stream. C. Richard, I can see what C. Richard's trying to do here. He said, you said yesterday it was going to be a chemical attack. Next, now you said differently. Which is it? So here's what I said yesterday. And I actually was very, very clear about this yesterday too. What I said yesterday was that this is an evolving story, that there is new information that will come out. And this is the information that we have at the moment. And what we had at the moment yesterday was that there were chemical substances that were found and being tested. That was yesterday. But it's been a lot of time since yesterday. That was at 11 p.m. my time when we were talking about that. And it is now 1:24 p.m. my time. So, 18-ish hours later. And what they found, investigators say they found chemical substances, liquids, and technical devices that could be used to manufacture explosives along with bomb-making materials. So the answer to your question is, C. Richard, nothing has changed. It is both. We just now have additional information that we didn't have yesterday. And by this evening, we will probably have more additional information that we don't have now that might change a little bit of what we have. The issue with news, or not even the issue, but the thing to think about when it comes to news and current events is that it is ever-changing, it is fluid, and what's correct at this moment might not be correct a little bit later. We have to go with what we know for the time being and report what we have for the time being. And if that changes, we just update and go with it and give you guys that information. Now we have more information. That's all. Where is she after London? I believe she goes straight back to the U.S. Hannah came over and said this, and I think what Hannah said is great, so I'm gonna say this. Came over from TikTok to say, if you're considering not going, please remember you have time. You could sell your tickets the day of if you wanted to, and I would agree to that. Don't look. I agree with Hannah 100% on this. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, and I know that's an old expression, but don't. Tensions are high. I understand that with everything that's going on. The fear, and it's warranted and it's valid. Your fear is very much validated. But a lot can happen between now and 5 days at the London shows. A lot can happen between now and whenever your show is. So just give it some time, get more information. Don't make a knee-jerk reaction. Hold on to your tickets, because as Hannah said it, you could easily sell your tickets day of for probably more than you paid for it. So that's what I would say. That's what I would say. Kayla asked, why do I think Taylor hasn't given us... Okay, I'm going to answer this too. And I did answer this a minute ago, but I'll answer it because you probably weren't here, and that's totally fine. Kayla asked, why do I think Taylor hasn't made a statement yet? Now, bear in mind, I am not going to sit here and guess what Taylor Swift is thinking or doing. I will only give you my best theory based on what I know about this type of an industry, okay, which is enough knowledge to be dangerous, but not enough to be an expert. And that is that knowing how Taylor Swift has been in the past with her fans, and knowing how this has unfolded with all this information still coming out, my guess is that I'm going to comment what Jenna said in a second. My guess is that she could very well be trying to figure out what her next steps are, what she could plan to do for people in Austria who missed the show, what is within the availability of the tour and the management to do. That's very possible. Jenna said that I told y'all yesterday the statement is already out. It's done. She won't come further. A statement was made, but was not a statement from her. I think that a statement from her is expected, and she and her fans expect that from her. You could absolutely be right, Jenna, but I'm going to very respectfully disagree with you and think that I think that she will ultimately put out a statement. That's my opinion. So we'll see what happens. If she doesn't, she doesn't. If she does, she does. I think that, but she's not a stupid person. She's incredibly brilliant, which is why she probably wants to make sure she knows everything, has all her ducks in a row, has all the information she possibly can before she does anything. Taylor Nation says her team. Okay, so I'm going to put this real quick. Again, with information that I know about this industry. Most of these people don't run their social media accounts. Most of them don't even have a say in their social media accounts. Their management team does. I can tell you, I know of several very high-profile people. I know this with firsthand knowledge that when you think you are reaching out to these people, you are not. You are reaching out to their team, and you think that they are. One of them is one of the most famous actors in the world. People think that they're reaching out to him directly, and they're not. Another are legendary musicians. You think you're reaching out. It's a team. So Taylor Nation is not ran by Taylor Swift. She doesn't have time for that. That's why she has a team. Just so you know. Just so you know. Taylor, that's another point too. She had to get herself, her team, band, dancers all out of Austria. That's also a lot too. Yeah, you're just talking about a lot of changing flights. Now, again, she has a team that does all of that. She's not doing that. She's going to be consulted as to what can be done and costs and stuff like that. But for the most part, the tour managers are going to even take care of that information for her. Yes, I get that Taylor Swift is her team. Okay, I'm going to try to explain this again because I think you all aren't getting it. Yes, Taylor Nation and Taylor Swift's verified accounts are ran by her team and ran by her management. But they are not ran by her directly. And I can tell you with certainty that everything that goes on them is not, in fact, 99.9% of things that go on those things on these accounts are not given by them. That's all. See, Richard, nobody said that you were dumb. T. Richard says, oh my God, I'm not dumb. You're twisting the statement. You really think she's going to give a personal statement versus Taylor Nation? Yes. Yes, I do. The same reason that the same way that she gave a personal statement for the attacks that happened in Southport. Yeah. Now, will that personal statement go out on Taylor Nation? Yeah. She'll give it to her people. Her assistant will draft it up, and they will give it to the people who will post it on live. She'll sign it if it's a visible one. If she does it at all, and I don't see her not doing it. But again, it doesn't matter if she does or she doesn't. It's irrelevant. I think, okay, Jody, I'm going to be really nice with this. I think that's, Jody says, I think this whole thing has been fabricated to give her a week off. I really want to be nice in my response, but no, that's completely inaccurate and frankly absurd. No, we have to be nice. I try to be nice because she's not being rude or belligerent. There are people that come in and be rude or belligerent. Will we be rude and belligerent to those people? We don't do it to people who are being whatever. If she wanted to take a time off, she would just take the time off. There's a million reasons why they could. So people ask if the London shows will still happen. Yes, as of now, London's going to still happen. As Rebecca said, yeah, the statement made by Taylor Nation was actually through Barracuda Music too. Anyways, for the YouTube people, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. This for anybody who missed the updates and stuff like that, you can come watch them on YouTube. I'm going to go back to TikTok here and chat for a little bit, answer some questions there. But for YouTube folks, thank you if you're here. Please subscribe. Which is the same as following. If you're on YouTube, come back. We are going to have more information tonight. Like I said, my friend Dan Catullo. I'm literally being told to do my research. I'm going to do it before I go. See, Richard, I have a person with no profile and a generic name telling me to do my research. Okay, we're going to do this real quick. Everything on this wall, you see all the records and the bands and Johnny Depp, everything on this wall is signed. I have a lot of friends in the music industry. I have a lot of friends in the news industry. I know how to read stuff. I know how to research stuff. I'm not embarrassing myself. You actually are doing that to yourself because you look like an imbecile at the moment. But it even says at the bottom of the thing is Barracuda Music put it out. All I'm saying is that I have knowledge of this industry. That's it. You can agree with me or disagree with me. You think I'm embarrassing myself? That's absolutely fine. But when somebody says you need to, as soon as somebody says you need to do your research, you're embarrassing yourself, I'm already shut down because I already know that your research doesn't come from anything but somebody out in their trailer in a YouTube yard. Oh, it's not signed art. It's autographs and VIP passes and all sorts of things. So, anyways, that's what we're going to say for that. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and put C. Richard in timeout. Anyways, I will be back here in 1 second. I'm going to sign off on YouTube. Sometimes it's fun to argue with the trolls, but when they get no fun to argue with, we gotta mute them. Anyways, y'all have a great rest of the day. Definitely hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back later with Dan Cotello. So, and TikTokers, don't go anywhere.